I should also mention boots. Boots are really important. If you look at my boots down here, you'll see that I am wearing pack boots. You want to wear pack boots. Pack boots are just boots that are rubber-soled and have usually some nylon uppers, and they have felt liners inside that you can remove and replace. These are the liners that come with them. These are just cheap liners, but you can buy replacement liners, and you can get better ones than these. And when they get wet and damp, and they will get wet and damp after just an afternoon of snowshoeing, you can take them out, and overnight they will dry in your sleeping bag. And they'll be toasty warm when you put them on in the morning. So when you go camping in winter, bring pack boots. Bring 2 sets of liners so that you can swap them out and dry them. If you like making a fire when you winter camp, you can dry them over a fire as well. Don't believe what they tell you about all the modern high-tech boots. They will get wet inside because they don't breathe, and you'll have freezing feet, and you'll have no other footwear unless you bring a whole other pair of boots, which is heavy. Felt liners are really light, and they crumple up and they pack fairly easily. So, why would I want to camp in an igloo instead of a 4-season tent? Well, there's a lot of advantages and only a few disadvantages to camping in an igloo or a snow shelter, a quinzhee for instance. Well, what are the disadvantages? Well, it takes some practice and some skill to build an igloo or any kind of snow shelter. A tent is comparatively easy to set up. It takes longer to build than it does to put up a tent. The biggest advantage, the most important advantage, is that any snow shelter, properly built, is going to be more comfortable and warmer. The insulating qualities of snow are terrific, and there's good soundproofing as well. So whereas a tent will feel a lot colder and trap moisture unless you open up all the zippers and let the moisture out and the heat out with it, an igloo is a terrific heat trap. It'll keep all the heat in there and it won't flap in the wind. Any moisture that collects inside the igloo just penetrates the snow in the walls and eventually freezes up. Once they're really hard and frozen, any more condensation from exhalation and cooking will just condense on the walls and run down the walls and freeze as the dribbles run down the wall and ice up on the bottom. So you don't get ice and snow crystals forming inside like in a tent and then raining on you and wetting your bag and stuff like that. They're typically roomier. This igloo is 7 feet across, perfectly comfortable, absolutely luxurious and spacious for a single person. The 8-foot wide igloo is easily comfortable for 2 people and a lot of gear. 9-foot igloo will accommodate 3 people and some gear. So it's really nice. It's also safe to cook inside an igloo. It's not really a good idea to cook inside a tent. It's perfectly safe to cook inside an igloo. You just have to make sure that you have a hole in the ceiling, just a little hole, not a big hole, about the size of a golf ball or a silver dollar or a quarter. And the carbon dioxide and moisture and cooking gases can escape out of your igloo. It's also bright, as you can see. It's really, really bright, and it's a cloudy day outside right now, and look how bright it is in here. There's no artificial light in here, so it's bright as daylight inside, almost. Even moonlight penetrates. It takes longer to build, that's true, but even a tent takes a while to put up in winter. You've got to stamp out a rectangle where the tent is going to be sitting, and you've got to let that floor cinder up before you set up your tent. And then you have to tie your guy lines to some sticks or some object or snow anchors and bury those and let those cinder up. So that all takes a little longer to set up. And then of course you have to take down the tent. You got to dig up those anchors, and that usually takes a shovel and quite a bit of time. And then you've got to take down your tent, and it's going to be frozen and hard and crunchy, and there tends to be ice crystals inside of it. And when the tent warms up again on a sunny day, all that ice crystal kind of gets everything wet. You don't have to take down your igloo. You just take your gear out and walk away. you can come back a week later and camp in it again. You might have to dig out the door, but it'll still be there. You won't have to set anything up. So those are the advantages and the disadvantages of igloo camping. For me, it's a no-brainer just because of the temperature difference. I've never had water freeze inside of an igloo, but the inside temperature of a tent is usually just a few degrees warmer than the outside temperature. And they're noisier, the tents, and they flap, and the wind will sort of rob them of heat. The igloo is impervious to that, so that's another huge advantage. The first time I ever slept in a snow shelter as an adult was on a winter camping course that I took. They instructed us to either use a tent or bring your own tent if you wanted to, or you could construct a quinzhee. My wife and I opted to construct a quinzhee. And 3 other teams, including the instructors, opted for quinzhees. Well, in those 2 nights, those of us who built quinzhees and slept in quinzhees, we were not cold. And it was very, very quiet, and we all had good sleeps. But all the other teams, they all froze. And it wasn't that cold out. They all froze. And they were all kept up by the flapping of their tents. And they were all kept up by each other's talking and complaining in the middle of the night. And those of us who slept in the snow shelters never even heard them, had no idea that they were having a bad sleep because we were sleeping soundly. And sleep's important when you're winter camping. If you don't get good sleep, you're going to have a hard time staying warm the next day. It's really important that you sleep well. That's why I like igloo camping. There are a couple of principles that you need to keep in mind to keep warm. One is you have to wear the right clothes. I've already talked about that. The other is activity. You have to keep active. You can't just stand around or sit around for long periods. You will get cold, even in very, very mild winter temperatures. So keep active. Just keep moving. If you find that your fingers and toes are getting cold, then find yourself something to do. Get busy. Pick up the shovel and make some camp furniture. Make some benches and tables and chairs to sit on. Put on your snowshoes and go for a little hike. If you walk up a hill in snowshoes for just 2 minutes, you'll find that your heart is pumping, and once your heart is pumping, you'll be plenty warm. So activity is key. The other thing is food and water. It's very easy to get dehydrated in winter because you won't feel hot even though you're getting dehydrated. It'll take a long time for you to get thirsty. Drink frequently, drink often, preferably hot beverages. And eat a lot. Eat fatty, rich foods. This is no time to be sticking to a diet. You want calorie-rich food and plenty of it, and often. No 3 meals a day. Eat all throughout the day. And eat at night. Just before you go to bed, your activity should be digestion. So eat something before you go to bed, and while you sleep, you should be digesting. If you wake up cold in the night, have a hot drink from your thermos, and have your snack foods on hand so that you can eat. And that'll keep you warm. And lastly, the pee bottle. That's very important. You will be kept up all night with an urge to pee because you're afraid to go outside of your tent or your shelter. If you have a pee bottle, you won't mind getting up to pee, and it'll keep you warm, and you'll be able to fall back asleep. Okay. If you've always wanted to try winter camping but never had the nerve to do it, it always seemed a little too daunting and challenging, keep in mind that you don't have to be particularly hardy or tough. I'm not hardy and tough. I'm 48 years old and I'm skinny, and I'm prone to getting cold very easily. But once you've been out here for a few hours, your body adjusts to it. And provided that you put into application the things that I've discussed already, you'll be able to have a good time and you won't freeze. But don't go on a long trip the first time. Your very, very first camping trip should be like what I did, just 1 or 2 nights at the most, and you're near to your car or vehicle, or near to a place where you can warm up. If you're really nervous, you don't know what gear to bring, and you're not sure if your gear is up to task, it's very simple. Camp in your backyard. Camp in a friend's backyard. Make a snow shelter, a quinzhee or something like that, or pitch your 4-season tent there, and just spend a whole day in your backyard on a nice day and see what that's like. You'll find out very quickly what it's like to camp what it's like to sleep in the cold, whether your sleeping bag is warm enough, whether you need 2 sleeping bags doubled up, what it's like to cook in the outdoors, and how well your clothes is holding up. And that'll build your confidence, and then you'll be able to just go out. And one of the nice things about winter camping is you don't need to go far. I'm just a little bit off a snowmobile trail here, and there's nobody around. I have not seen in 2 days any people or any evidence of people, not even the sound of machinery, not even an airplane. It's very, very quiet in winter, and it's beautiful to enjoy that stillness. And there's not a lot of people competing with you for space and good campsites. Good campsites are really easy to find. And the very, very last word is there is an online resource that's available to everybody for free called wintertrekking.com. Check it out. It is, bar none, the best site for information about winter camping. Hope you've enjoyed this. Oh, and if you did enjoy it, please subscribe. There'll be more coming. Well, I'm all packed up and ready to go. Just one thing left to do. And that's just to prove how solid igloos are. Time to go home.